Fear no more the heat o' the sun, nor the furious winter's rages. Thou thy worldly task hast done, home art gone, and taken thy wages. Golden lads and girls all must, as chimney sweepers, come to dust. Fear no more the frown of the great, thou art past the tyrant's stroke. Care no more to clothe the neat, to thee the reed is though the oak. The sceptre learning psychic must all follow this and come to dust. Fear no more the lightning flash, nor the all-dreaded thunderstone. Fear not slander, censure rash, thou hast finished joy and moan. All lovers young, all lovers must, consign to thee and come to dust. No exerciser harm thee, nor no witchcraft charm thee. Ghost unlaid forbear thee, nothing ill come near thee. Quiet consummation have, and renowned be thy grave. Fear no more by the bard himself, William Shakespeare. And fear no more, as we must, as we come back in to see our little young near cyber knight, Micah Race himself, having run off to try to be the hero, face off a couple against these demonic broadkill, these nasty creatures, red-skinned demons that seem to have a little bit of a penchant for both murder and cybernetics. And as he ran ahead of both his more experienced sister and the Kingsguard that were following them, we watched as Micah try to take at least 3 of them on by himself. I think it was 4 actually total with the rolls. And the brutality of them overwhelmed him. He heard, just as he went unconscious after a really good shot by one of them, that somebody had been telling them that they needed to capture the whelps. And as Micah comes to, we find him sitting quietly right now in a cell of some sort. All of his gear taken, sitting there in battered, bloodied clothes. The organic armor shell that was underneath his armor is now fading. We just see the skin. No scars, though he is bleeding quite a few spots. And having determined, too, that it was at least over an hour past the last time he was hurt. He's now past the golden hour, which means he doesn't have a direct way to heal these wounds. And wounds he's starting off with 3. Having gone unconscious, but somehow still alive. You're going to come in, and let's see, get those tokens out. Rattle, rattle, rattle. Let's start by checking the scene. Yep, that was great. We'll start by checking the scene, and then determine from there what's going on. So, start with the D10. We bumped the chaos factor up to a 7. It's a 6, so we've got an interrupt scene coming in. Let's take a look at what the interrupts are going to be. Okay. That's right, we go to the description page. Out of actions. Okay, come on. Descriptor 1. Let's see, 53 intensely, 83 intensely rough. Okay. Let's ask the fake question here. Do the broadkill come in here to interrogate him? Because that's what that sounds like. Let's see. We'll give this 50-50, which is a 75 or less. 71. So yeah, as our young hero here kind of begins noticing what's going on around him, he watches. Just keeping an eye open. Surely, he thinks, they'll come along. They need to feed him. They need to dress some of his wounds at least. Of course, they would want to keep him a little bit on the weak side, but that doesn't mean that they're going to kill him, right? And sure enough, after about an hour, he's just sitting there, twiddling his thumbs, not quite sure what's going on. And suddenly he hears heavy footfalls and a bit of laughter. Looks up in time to see the gate open up. And let's get a little bit of a description of this area. So let's roll on the dungeon table. Alright, random descriptors. Let's see. Alright, dungeon descriptors. $77 possessions, 84 rough. Possessions rough. Okay. Well, they have taken over. They've taken over what looks like an old shop and converted the back room here. Heavy gates have been put up, roughly nailed up walls, but a lot of it made out of very heavy material. And as Micah just kind of watches a couple of these things step into the back, so a rictus grin on one of their faces, its teeth begin to split.
I'm not sure what we're going to do with this one yet. They say we can't eat him, but that doesn't mean he has to be able to walk, right?
And the other one just kind of turns and goes,
Well, if we eat his feet, then maybe he'll survive it, right?
he watches with an intense look. I'm going to give them an intimidation roll. That's a 2. That's not a success. His spirit, which after his last raise, or his last advance, I bumped him up to a D8. That blows up. Oh, 12. Nice. So with the 15 against their 2 on intimidation, he just kind of watches them, wary-eyed, but not really making any movements. And the 2 broadkills, they kind of come around the other direction when approaching and looking at him. The first one that just goes,
The whelp's not scaring.
The other one turns and goes,
Of course not. He knows his daddy's coming for him. But what if he's not aware of it yet?
The first one just,
No, I would be aware. We managed to take him just in time.
let's see. I don't have a persuasion at all. Notice. Okay, so I'm going to give him a D4. That's a 1. Let's see. It's not a critical failure, but I mean, his spirit is definitely above. I mean, alright, we'll just roll a D8. Unless you roll snake eyes. No, he doesn't fall for it either. Instead, he kind of sits down, puts his knees on the ground, sits back on his heels. His palms suddenly slap on the front of his knees. And though eyes open, he just begins a low hum. Just Broadkill, admittedly, not quite sure what to make of this. Start watching him. Alright, so I'm going to... How does this work? How does a meditation work? Well, the first thing is, here's a question. I'm going to roll 2d6, and if either one of these land on a 6, then we're not too far away from the ley line. Oh, 2 3s. So we're far enough away from the ley line, but as Micah sits down and just begins to meditate, his face just maintains that same steady beat. He watches as these red-eyed beasts keep circling around like hyenas waiting for, a lion to die. And in his mind, he pictures that scene perfectly. They suddenly just become low-slunk, hind quarters only with large bristling teeth, but He's a much larger lion. He watches him. Let's see. His notice D6, so we'll give him a notice roll. 4 and a 1. So actually, with his wounds, I keep forgetting his wounds. So he's at -3. Shit. Okay. Well, they rolled a 1. Well, I'll just keep going. And as Micah continues watching him, suddenly he feels his wounds pressing up against him. Marks a note of it. Remembers what the pain feels like. And then he just stops. He goes, well, am I going to get dinner? Or do I need to order room service from you? And the two roadkill just stop for a second, like,
I like this one. No, we're not going to get you room service, Your Majesty.
the other one just turns and goes,
Maybe you are room service. We just need to take little bits off first.
Micah continues his watch. He goes, okay. Well, if you're not going to feed me, then I'm assuming that you're either planning on trading me soon, that somebody is on the way and you're planning on moving me soon, or you're just being dumb and assume that your captives can survive on their own. And the two of them glance over, and I'm going to give him... he doesn't have... No, this is actually kind of... He's taunting them a little bit. And he does have taunts. I'm going to give him his D4. But with the -3, those are both -1s. And they just kind of watch him. They go,
well, I guess one way or another you're going to find out.
They both turn back and leave. Micah, despite his wounds, did have a modicum of control over that situation, so I'm just going to go ahead and let him drop the chaos factor a little bit. Let's put that down to a 6. Let's see. Let's start off with our new scene. We know that somebody's here, and we know that they're trying to interrogate him. So I'm going to assume that the next scene is a couple hours later, where somebody does come to feed him, right? Because obviously they're not going to let him starve. So let's roll. Chaos factor of 6. It's a 2. We got another interrupt. All right, let's find out the nature of the interrupt. I was going to say, it was a couple hours. You'd have a chance to meditate and then potentially regain some of his power points. But, in the scenario, they may not let him up. So, come on. Descriptors. All right, 56. Joyfully. That's weird. 53. Joyfully lean. I'm going to say what that means. It's not a couple hours. Let's ask a fake question. Is it in fact a day? 93. Let's see, at 50-50, that is just a hair below an exceptional no. Joyfully lean. Do they send somebody else in? Another captive who has not been eating to deliver his food. 18. It's not an exceptional yes, but no, we're going to generate a new NPC here. All right. So, the cruelty here is on display very quickly as... yeah, let's do character... Let's do character identity. Okay. The Broadkill sends someone in who's obviously malnourished. 38 is a gambler. 77. Gambler punish. Okay. A punished gambler. So, I kind of like this. Let's roll with it. New NPC captive. Punished gambler. Oh, okay. Here's a question. Is this some city rat that belongs, in the local area that the Broadkill, that was originally effectively a prisoner, right? Like, had been arrested, and that the Broadkill took over. When they took over, I'm assuming a police station. 38, 50, 50. Yeah, okay. So we now have a new NPC. This is a city rat. Okay. Now let's add a little bit more motivation and let's do personality first. Let's find out who this person is. 39. Fastidious. 6. Fastidious, amusing. Okay. Fastidious, amusing. All right. So we got ourselves a little bit of a cyberpunk. The kid walks in, obviously just malnourished, skin and bones. I'm going to roll, let's see. 1's a male, a 2's a female, 3 is, we'll say, transitioned, and then 4 is none. That is a 1, so it's a male. Identifies as male. He steps in. There's just a slight, there's a creak of metal. And, oh, that's a great idea. Then let's see, 62. Yeah, I'm going to say that's true. And this poor kid, as he comes in, the clothes are tattered, but, sewn back and stitched around. Arm is kind of sewn over. And as Micah kind of looks up at him, he sees human. The ears are not peaked. Very skinny. Looks like he's not been fed in a while. But he's carrying with one hand a tray. And the tray is just a small bowl of soup and some dried snacks, maybe Cheerios on the side. And as the kid kind of looks at it and slides it over and goes, "Hey there, Choom. Hey, I got something for you here. Chef's finest, right? Just for you. Say, why are they treating you so well? Hey, you seem like someone important." And he puts the tray down on the floor, slides it over with one hand, and that's where Micah looks and sees this kid's right arm is missing at the elbow. There's a socket in its place, metallic, glowing with some basic green lights. The kid looks down at it and goes, "Yeah. Well, you notice how many of them have cybernetics attached all over them, right? Well, this bloke right here, I wasn't that lucky. Yeah. I hope there's a hand out there that's just continuously flipping its new owner off, just right in the face, right? I hope he goes to grab himself, try to take a leak, and my hand just gets a mind of its own and tears her right off. Yeah." He goes, "I'd reach out and shake your hand, but, yeah, it ain't happening right now, is it?" He goes, "Anyway, you don't seem like the talkative type. I don't mean to be the one to keep conversation going if you're not interested, of course, but, sometimes if you don't start laughing, you just start crying. So I would prefer to do neither right now. Let's see. I'm looking for... I know the table for names in here somewhere. Names. All right. Let's give this kid a name. 97. Y. And 60. YN. Okay. Yin. Yeah. Kind of looks over and goes, huh, my name's Yins. What's yours? Micah kind of watches him. I'm going to give him a notice roll. Of course, this is at -3 from the wounds. Oh, nice. 6 blows up. 8 total minus 3 is 5. And so Micah kind of scans this guy. Gets a little bit of an impression and goes, how long have you been down here, son? And Yin looks him up and down and goes, I'm not sure I'm your son, but I do know that your folks tend to live a really long time, so maybe I am. Hi, Daddy. I've been here for about 4 days. And they've not been feeding you, have they? He goes, well, enough. Well, they're not really feeding me, per se. More like I'm living a little bit like a mouse. I've been eating, well, I found a small container of some stale biscuits. Don't tell anyone. They're really good, though. A little moldy. I'm pretty sure that's where LSD comes from. I'm going to have to let some of them sit if I can last that long. But they keep threatening to eat me, and so not much point in letting me completely starve to death. They've let me have bits and pieces here and there, but the meal that they made you, or that they had me make you, looks really good, man. Hey, Rochambeau you for it. And Micah, I'm sorry, I don't... You have to forgive me. I feel like I'm about to throw up. He goes, oh man, that sucks. If you do, can you aim away from your Cheerios? Those look really good too. Micah goes, my friend, why don't you come and sit with me? I'm not so sure that I should. You know, it's just that kind of thing. You know, you seem like royalty, actually, and I'm not so sure that I should be dining with, like, you know, royalty or anything. So I'm going to give Micah a persuasion roll. They get +1 on all social skill checks. If he has empathy, so that's actually what I'm going to do. He's going to try to fire up his empathy. So his psionics is a d6. He gets cost 1, but -3. Oh yeah, spend a penny on that. That's even worse. I'm not going to keep chasing that. He tries to activate his powers. He looks, and he's trying to hear this man's emotions. And just all he hears is the static of his own pain. He goes, oh, forgive me, friend. I'm having a hard time today. Please, I would ask if you would dine with me, though. You see, I'm pretty badly hurt. I don't think I could eat all this, and, you know, quite frankly, I'm looking forward to having dinner with somebody. And Jens, you seem like the exact kind of person I'd like to have dinner with. So he gets a -3 on this from his wounds, but +1 for being a Cyber Knight, so it's only a -2 on his persuasion roll. 4 and a 4. I'm going to try that again. This one I think he can get. No. Oh. Sorry about that. 3 and a 3. Does he want to? No. Jens looks him up and down. There's kind of a fearful look in the kid's eyes, and he just... no, I couldn't. No. And he starts, like, carefully playing with the long scratch down his face, and he goes, yeah, I'm sure I'll see you around, right? You come to the local bars, you come to the comedy show. That's what we'll do. We'll come to the comedy show together. And if they asked, I wasn't here. Okay, bye. And the kid walks out. Micah looks down at the food. He's still not hungry, thinking about how starved that guy looked. But he also knows he's got to keep his own energy up. And so he takes a moment, starts letting himself focus, quiet, mood, feelings. There's a sensation around him. I'm going to, let's see. Takes an hour, bumps up, or gets 1 power point back. You can try, let's see. So it'll cost 13 ISP, and he only has 6 right now. He's got a max of 10. There's no way he could possibly heal this wound. Unless he tries to short it. He could, and with his channeling ability, it'll reduce the cost by 1 if he gets a raise. So, now the thing with shorting a power is you take a -3, or you'll take a negative based on how many points you're short. And given the fact that he's only got 6 and he needs 13 to activate this power, he would be, what is that? 7 points, and then his wounds, it'd be a -10 to the roll. He needs to wait until he's stronger. So, let's test the scene again. We're going to keep the chaos factor. I'm going to say as long as he is captive, that chaos factor is not going to go below 6. That's a 10, so the scene proceeds as normal. It is 3 hours before the next interruption comes along. So that puts him up to 9. That's getting closer. But he meditates. The empty bowls sit there for hours. He closes his eyes and lets it wait. There's a breeze, a moment. And suddenly there's a quiet, a still. And I'm going to try something here. Does he receive his first Cyberknight vision? 13? Exceptional, yes. Okay. Cool. Cool. This feels like the exact right moment. Cyberknights, in their quest to refine who they are, refine their souls, they have a tendency of sometimes having visions. So let's roll on the visions and dreams. 53 is liberty. And 53, again, I'm going to re-roll that. 40, liberty harm. Liberty harm. Okay, vision. Liberty harm. As Micah sits here, his stomach doesn't even begin to rumble, but he feels suddenly a sapping energy, a cold. It covers him. He shivers despite it. His eyes closed, and suddenly he feels a rush of heat. There's warmth all around him. There's crackling fires. It's heat, all right, but it's the heat of battle. He opens his eyes and he is kneeling, still in these battered clothes. The cuts and wounds are very present across him. His face is just still a mass of bruise on one side. The laser burns are echoed into his skin. But that's not the worst damage that's going on around him. He sees buildings on fire, towering infernos, tornadoes in their own right as the heavy fire that's cutting from the inside eats with a hunger. It swirls upwards, a thick black smoke a thick white smoke beginning to cover the air as the fuel that's inside is still angry. He looks around as buildings begin to collapse. They crumble as though they're being knocked over by careless children. People inside look out, giving up. They don't even move. They don't shake. They know that the end has come and they're just waiting their turn. He looks. He sees off in the distance people fighting still. A clattering of swords, screaming and yelling, pain and hallucinations. The fear that they're not going to make it back home, and the desire to make sure that the next guy doesn't make it back home instead. He looks up. Overhead, he sees heavy black shadows, some of which shaped like pills, but only because they're at a distance. The heavy firepower on top of them just strikes down like the fists of angry gods. And they are striking into dragons, demons, having winged beasts that seem to swoop and soar. Suddenly a flare of fire breathes out from one of them. A cone accompanies one of these death heads pills that seem to hover in the sky in the way that they should not. Suddenly a striking of the ground around him. He can't move. His hands are still on his knees. And suddenly the railgun fires just and it rips the earth. And still he can't help but look around. There's another crashing noise, just as this heavy-plated golem steps forward. Spikes along its arms, heavy, jagged joints that seem to emerge from the knuckles, bladed weapons that seem to emerge out of nowhere, and a palm that spews blue fire. It launches one of these angry fists, and it slams into the face of a skull. Normally, from what everyone knows, Micah has seen the coalition troops. He has seen the armor that they wear, designed to emulate death itself, but what he's not seeing anymore is the full emblem of death. Instead, it is white. It is curved as though it had been molded instead of the jagged points. As it fires in again, the suit suddenly seems to lift up, but the skull no longer moves as though there's a human inside. Instead, it laughs and cackles like a demon, its teeth split as it begins to return fire with a long, long rifle strapped to its arm. These shots start burning in, and each one of them, instead of striking the suit of armor that it's trying to attack, strikes a citizen, a woman, a man, a child, and the laughter continues. The demonic-looking suit of armor returns fire. Lightning strikes down from its fist, and every time it does, you just see families rent, groups torn apart, nations divided. As Micah begins to realize, he goes, No, this cannot be. Who are they fighting? Who are they fighting? Where am I? He tries to stand up, and his body seems to almost float of its own, as though he's not really here, but of course, he feels it every inch. He glances around. He sees a curved building down one corridor. He floats towards it on feet that aren't his. He sees, though, signs. He sees movement in groups. And as he peers in, he sees a school burnt. He sees it gutted and hollowed, where railgun strikes and lightning and fire breath and anger had burnt it. But on the outside, it just says, the University of Tolkien. He blinks. He feels the tears. Tolkien has been a near ally. The coalition states, of course, hate them, but why is Tolkien engaged in a war? And he turns, and right behind him is a beautifully dressed Cybernite. His beard is shaven and well kept, comes to a point. There's gray at his temples and sad look in his steel blue eyes. His cheeks look like they have been chiseled from stones, but there is an age and a weariness to his shoulders. And he looks up, and he extends a hand, and he goes, Sir Knight, I am Lord Coke, and I need you to come and find me. We can prevent this. We can prevent all of this. But you need to go to... Micah wakes up. And that is where we're going to end for tonight. So, here we go. I kind of figured, because one of the major things I wanted is to make sure that the Siege of Tolkien was one of the center points of both stories, because that gives us time frame. But now we know we're going towards the siege. And we will see NPCs. We know we've got Amadi, the kingdom, the Broad kill themselves, the leaders, and now we also have Yins, the city rat, and Lord Coke. All right, threads. Defend the city. Complete his training. Escape. That's still a big one. We're going to put that on a second time. Find who's doing this. And now we're also going to find Lord Coke. So, thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful night.